My name is Steve Edmiston, and I am the co-founder of the Maury Island Incident Historical Society, and I give you permission to use this video to exploit in all media into perpetuity worldwide, whether now invented or hereafter created, because I'm a lawyer and I know how this stuff works. We are literally at the plaza for the Woodmont Country Club, and the Woodmont Country Club is a small residential community just south of the city of Des Moines. The city of Des Moines is just south of the city of Seattle. We are literally directly east of Maury Island, Washington, where the Maury Island Incident, the famous June 21, 1947 UFO sighting occurred. And today is June 21, 2015. It's the anniversary of the Maury Island Incident. And right now we are at ground zero for all things Maury Island. And we're at the Maury Island Incident Historical Society's annual meeting, also known as Burning Saucer LXVIII, or Burning Saucer 68. Welcome, Pacific NorthWEIRD. At the very first Burning Saucer, this celebratory event, Scott Shafer, who is a local journalist, but is also, and I didn't know this, a Directors Guild of America director, came up to me after we told the tale of the Maury Island Incident, and he basically tried to convince me that this was a movie, that it hadn't been put into our modern pop culture in that cinematic form, and that we should do it. And he convinced me he was right, and so it was at the original Burning Saucer that we decided to make the film.
The dog saw them first. 6 flying discs, maybe 100 feet across, hollow in the center, like donuts.
It was a labor of love. First off, Steve wrote a great script. He based it on declassified FBI document. So we had a real good groundwork, real solid core, and turning that into a script, he did an excellent job, and it made it a real joy to turn into a film, to direct it, cut it into shots.
Why is Maury Island forgotten? Why isn't it included in this sort of, the top events, the top stories, the top sort of points on the map of UFO history? And the reason we all know is that Harold Dahl, who originally alleged the sighting, he said it was a hoax. He confessed that he made it all up. And what was amazing when we started to research this project, and the film that we made is extracted from the FBI documents that we were able to divine under the Freedom of Information Act. What we discovered was, during the FBI's investigation, Harold Dahl repeatedly told the FBI agents, if I have to say something publicly, if I am asked by the authorities, I will say that I made this up. But at the same time, he also told the FBI agents, but I didn't make it up. Everything that I said happened. I'm going to say it was a hoax to make all of the things that are bad go away.
You say here, Mr. Mitchell, that Mr. Dahl insists that he does not want any more trouble.
Yes, sir.
Is that the truth in your opinion, Mr. Mitchell? Mr. Dahl truly doesn't want any more trouble.
I think he believes that all the bad things that have happened are because he ignored the warning. He's scared, sir.
So, he's so scared now that he'll deny what he saw. He's so frightened now that he'll say it was all a hoax. He'll say he's the biggest liar that ever lived.
Yes.
Now that was something we didn't hear for 50 years. For 50 years, when the FBI's files were sealed, the only voice we had about Maury Island was self-confessed hoax. And it wasn't until 1997 and after, when you could start looking at the documents, and you get an agent like FBI agent Jack Wilcox, who writes a 19-page report to J. Edgar Hoover and says, be careful, Mr. Hoover, he's not saying it's a hoax. He's only saying that because he wants the bad things to go away. but he consistently says that his story is true. Now, if that is true, there's no reason to dismiss Maury Island as a hoax.
And it turns out that there was a Jack B. Wilcox. And I found after about 25 minutes of doing a research on Google, basic stuff, I find this obituary. And not only was there a Jack B. Wilcox, but he died in Kennewick, Washington. And his daughter lives in Kennewick, Washington, and his son lives, I think, out here in Woodinville somewhere. And so that struck me as interesting.
The original story, as related by Dahl, was to the effect that Dahl was patrolling in his boat near Maury Island, Washington. He sighted 6 flying discs, one of which fluttered to the earth and disintegrated, showering his boat with fragments, which caused some damage to the boat and killed his dog. Dahl then wrote a letter to the Ziff Davis Publishing Company, which is a company that publishes fantastic adventure magazines out of Chicago, and sent them fragments of the flying disc relating this story. You have heard some of the story, and if you're not familiar with it, the important part is that the sighting on June 21 was followed the next day when Harold Dahl was at his home. It was 6:30-ish in the morning, and a man knocked on his door. And that man was dressed, as described by Dahl, in a black suit, white shirt, black tie, black hat. What we would now think of as Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black. And that man said to Harold Dahl that we need to talk about what you saw on the water yesterday. And Harold hadn't told anybody at that time what he had seen on the water.
The birth of the Men in Black, that concept. Everything that we think about it today, whether we think about Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in the Men in Black movies, or whether we think about the X-Files and Agent Mulder and Scully and everything that was going on in that pop culture, that can all be traced to the Maury Island Incident. And that is traced, whether you believe Harold Dahl's story or not. I'm gonna self-cut because I just can't concentrate with that. That is exciting. That doesn't happen every day. I think that we've always been nervous about surveillance, and we've always felt that we're being watched, and I don't know if this is, it's like we don't have to pretend that we're not watching you. We're watching you.
Well, we consider our short film like a pilot episode. It actually ends with a bit of a cliffhanger. So we set up the idea of J. Edgar Hoover, the executive director of the FBI, setting up a secret cadre of agents that are kind of off book. So they might be kind of men in black, right? So their goal is to investigate these unusual cases, UFOs, starting with UFOs in the summer of '47. We filmed it in the sense of a TV pilot, where it could be the launching pad for a TV series. And our working title is Off Book, and we see it as kind of the starting in the summer of '47, kind of a period 40s X-Files, investigating UFO cases and unusual cases that Hoover is personally interested in.
This is the beginning of the Cold War. It was June of 1947. Harry Truman had just said, we're going to go to war with these people in the Soviet Union, and we need to be afraid. And so when people in 1947, in the summer of 1947, looked up at the sky and said they saw something, everybody took it seriously. And Maury Island, as a storyteller, I was excited because it's so tragic. It's really the only UFO incident that we can point to where we know that 2 deaths occurred as a result of the investigation of that sighting. Captain William Davidson and Lieutenant Frank Brown, who were here, had flown their B-25 into McChord Air Force Base to investigate, were killed when their plane crashed when they left with slag that they'd been given from the event. Tragic.
We have here a man who's going to be ridiculed for the rest of his life for being a liar. A man who will confess to a hoax that led to the deaths of 2 fine men. A hoax that may destroy his marriage, cost him his job, If he is willing to do all that, why would he then privately bother to tell you that his story is still true? That his confession is the real lie?
I don't know. He strikes me as an honest man.
But who knows? And like I point out in the piece, it's like, I don't get to decide, I don't get to make choices about what isn't or isn't real about these kinds of things. But there was an FBI agent, he did write this document. There is a lot of confluent events that make it very suspicious. The plane wreck, his clear reference in public documents to people who had warned him away from this kind of thing, and which these guys point out is the Men in Black original person. I don't know. I mean, at some level, I don't care, because I'm interested in the people and the folklore and the history of it as it feeds into the local culture.
It's a great local story, and it's our story, and it's our backyard. And we think on June 21, we ought to get together, have a party, and burn the saucer. So without further ado, we're going to burn the